Hi, and welcome to this incredible episode. We have a very special guest on today. Her name is Sofia, and she's a member of our Singing Insiders membership. And I invited her to share her story here on the podcast because she has something incredibly amazing to talk about. And I really do believe that her story will inspire many, many, many people out there. So that was the reason. And to be honest, she's just so full of wisdom. I love her energy. I love her style, and I hope you will love her too. I don't doubt about that. But we talked about many things, including how to overcome any fears, the purpose of life. We went really, really deep in this conversation, and really, really actionable as well. So if you're ready to uncover all there is to uncover around you, the purpose of singing, and how you can go after your big singing dreams without having that fear of disappointing people. Because have we not all, well, that was my story as well. So I definitely relate to Sofia's story, this idea that you have to, study the thing that will make you money later on, and singing or arts is not that thing. In the end, was lucky that I could study what I wanted, but she had a similar experience, which was really interesting to hear. And you're going to learn so many things within this conversation. So enjoy. Now, little disclaimer, by the end, our connection started to get a little bit wobbly. So there might have been some technical issues at the end, but we're going to make and do our best to put all those puzzle pieces together so that you can hear the incredible things that she had to share at the end of our conversations. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Sofia.
Hi, Maggie. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to show up and craft this conversation in your day. So thank you so much for showing up here today. I really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I'm really happy to be here and, just very humble that I get to share what I have to share.
Yeah. The reason why I invited you on the podcast is obviously because you have an incredible story to tell. And I really do believe that by you sharing that story, it's an inspiration for other people. So before we tell that story, let's start at the beginning and maybe tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and a little fun fact about yourself.
Okay, so I am Sofia. I'm from Portugal. I am a mom. My daughter is almost 3 years old, and I work as an actress and a singer, mostly musical theater. A fun fact about me is that before becoming an actress, I was writing a dissertation, a master's dissertation, on the benefits of eating bugs. So I really did a turn there.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay, I did not know that.
Yep.
Interesting. And tell me, how did your passion for singing come about? Because obviously we know each other because you love to sing, and we started working together in that context. Where did the passion start for you?
Well, singing has always been part of my life. I grew up in church, in an evangelical church, Christian church. So singing, music, always have been part of my life. Then I wanted to be an actress, and I enrolled in a musical theater training. I didn't mean to be a musical theater actress, just an actress, but then musical theater really captivated me as a way of telling stories through music. Because if you tell a story, that has a big impact on people, but when you sing a story, I think it's so powerful. It really moves people's hearts, and I've seen it happen. And so that really made me think of singing as more than just a fun thing to do, but really as a form of communicating and expressing yourself, but also to reach people's hearts. And so, that's when singing really became something that I really started to pursue.
Yeah, it sounds like It sounds like a movie. This woman from Portugal that has this dream to be an actress, and it all started with, and I'm sure you're not the only one that has that big dream. So if someone is listening that has that dream of, I want to do this, whether it's being an actress or sing on stage or sing in a choir, whatever their version of their dream is, what would your, I'd say, advice be to get into action? What got you into action to move towards that place of your passion?
Well, that's a very good question. In my case, what drove me to action is I've always wanted to be an actress ever since I was a kid, but my parents didn't want me to. So they told me, yeah, go study something else that's more stable,
Yep.
more, and then maybe if you still want to be an actress, we'll see. But
Yeah.
no, first get a grown-ups degree, and
Yeah.
then we'll see.
Oh, that's so relatable.
And so I went to college. I went to college, and I did several years. I did two degrees, one in translation studies and another in international relations.
Wow.
And then I went to get a master's degree in environmental management and policies. So nothing to do with artistic endeavors, nothing. And so while I was writing my master's dissertation, I had a burnout. My body was had been telling me and sending me signals that something wasn't right. I had stomach aches, I had neck pain, but I didn't know what to do with that information. I wasn't aware that my body was sending me signals.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had a burnout. I spent 6 months in bed, practically all the time in bed. I was in pain. All the anxiety that I didn't know I had was coming up. And so in that moment when I was forced to stop and just consider my life and everything that had brought me to that point, I realized I still wanted to be an actress. And and that wasn't a good news to me. I was really overwhelmed and disappointed at that, because oh my gosh, I can't believe that after all these years, after all that I've been trying to build, I'm still going back there. Oh, come on. And so I fought with that idea for a while, but I knew that in order to heal and in order to get out of the pit that I was in, I needed to listen to what my heart was telling me, what my body was telling me. And so then I enrolled in that musical theater course, and my transformation and my healing began after that. And I look at my life and I see myself before the burnout and after the burnout, and it's two completely different people. Yeah. And so my advice would be to experiment as much as you can, do voluntary work, travel, do this and do that, but always listen to what's inside of you, and don't let your body stop you. I mean, don't wait till your body has to stop you so that you listen to it. Mm-hmm. That would be my advice. I had several people come to me while I was studying musical theater. I had my colleagues, and most of them were not in college yet. Mm-hmm. They were like 16, 18 or something. And a lot of them came to me and said, I really want to study theater, but my parents wanted me to go to science. Mm-hmm. What do I do? And I'm like, go to theater. If you really want to, go. Because you're not going to drop this. If it's something that it's a passion of yours, it's always going to be there. So don't do it like me, and don't waste. I mean, of course, it's not a waste, but don't go through all those years of struggling and striving and pushing in order to just go back to where you wanted to be in the first place. So if you really want to do it, just go for it. If at some point you realize you don't want to do it, just shift gears. It's okay. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Isn't it ironic? Maybe ironic's not the right word, but isn't it interesting that we all dramatically change our lives once we hit rock bottom? And for you, that might have been the burnout. For someone, that might have been a depression. For someone else, it might just be suddenly a sort of accident, but something has to happen for us to pursue our passion. And I find that a bit sad in a way, because maybe you can also get to that place without hitting rock bottom. If you're living from a place of consciousness, I feel like so many of us were just following the rules that have been set up on ourselves, or the expectations that other people have from us. And what you're really talking about is breaking free from that and listening to what you need, your needs instead of someone else's. That's really powerful. Thanks for sharing all of
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for asking. And yeah, I totally agree with the with living consciously, because like I said, I wasn't doing that. My body was giving me all these signals, and I didn't know what they meant or what to do with them. And so yeah, living intentionally and being aware, yeah, being mindful of how you're carrying your life and what you want to achieve, how you want to spend your time. You know, most people, talk about this in their 50s, and like, oh, if I knew what I know now, if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have spent all this time doing this. Okay, so we need to be humble and wise enough to listen to other people's experience and go, okay, let me equate my life then.
Yeah.
Let me evaluate where I am and where I want to be. It's fine. It's okay to change gears and go into different directions. I thought that was a terrible thing that I did. I thought that I was disappointing everyone. Well, it turns out I wasn't. Nobody cared. And they're happy that I'm doing what I love, and they're excited about the projects that I have. So yeah, just go for it.
And you're here inspiring other people with that story. So
Yeah,
I wanted
it's
to
mind blowing in itself.
I know. It's like a full circle. You were talking about living consciously and with intent, and that many people just find that in their 50s. That's what they call the midlife crisis, I guess. And now we're getting pretty deep, like right away. I love it. So like, why do we live, right? I think the answer, when we really look deep into ourselves, is to be happy. Like, we all want to live a happy life, however you find that happiness. And why would we keep doing something that doesn't make us happy? And I think that's where you broke free from the paradigm of you need to do this or you have to do that. Like, it takes courage to do all of that. So where did you get that courage from?
Well, I've always been a child that really wanted to do something with my life. And, I looked at the grown-ups in my life and I didn't feel like they were doing it. So deep inside of me was a fear that that was my destiny. And so when my parents told me that I couldn't be an actress, I tried to find the most meaningful thing to do. And I chose the environment. It's something that I've always been passionate about. And I chose, okay, so I'll dedicate to the environment and I'll save the world. And so I put so much pressure on myself, and I tend to do that, just put pressure on myself to just be meaningful and have a purpose and do good. But it came a point where I realized that I was trying to please everyone, but I wasn't taking care of myself in the process. And I was exhausted and I was anxious. And I remember that I went to several doctors because of my burnout, and all of them asked me, "Are you an anxious person?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine." And they're like, "Tests say otherwise."
Those tests.
Sure. I'm like, "Oh, maybe I am an anxious person," because I was so disconnected from everything. And so when you talk about courage, I think to me it wasn't a matter of courage, it was a matter of survival. I was in such a state that I knew I couldn't go on the way that I was going. And so it was really a matter of survival of, if I want to heal, then I have to do this. But every day I feel like since I joined the Singing Insiders, everything has been about courage, because I'm doing new things constantly. And I'm not just that, I am, I'm being challenged constantly to think and to, okay, who are you? What do you want? Where are you going? How are you doing it? And that's scary. It's scary to come up with answers to these questions, because when you know the answer, then what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, now you know. Now you know where you're going to.
Yes. Now you can't claim ignorance. Now it's your choice. Now you know. So now you're choosing to not doing it or doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is what takes courage, to just keep moving one step at a time. And, I realized the other day, we do a lot of mindset work in the Singing Insiders. And I was doing the mindset work with the goal of getting rid of fear. But I had a dream the other day. It was a scary dream with people doing like an extreme activity, like, bungee jumping or jumping off a plane. And I was looking at those people and I was terrified for them. And I'm like, why do people, do this to themselves?
I did it twice.
And I'm like, I would jump off the plane just so I didn't feel fear. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so scary, I cannot. And then I know when I woke up, I was like, but yeah, people do this in real life. Why aren't they afraid? Or maybe their relationship with fear that is different than mine. Or the goal, maybe they're focusing on the end goal instead of the situation in itself. And so I realized that we never get rid of fear. We just keep going. And our brain goes, oh, okay, I survived that. Let me survive the next thing. Oh, okay, I survived that. Let me try the next thing. And I'll survive that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has been, I think that has been really transformational for me, because I've been trying all this time to get rid of the fear. And now I'm like, okay, fear is here to stay. So I just have to keep going.
I appreciate that you open up the conversation around fear. And I think it is somewhere in module 1 of the Singing Insiders where I say that fear is like hunger. It's something that you'll always have in order to survive within your body. And many people, they try to get rid of the fear or get rid of the hunger, while really what we want to do is be able to live with the fear and know how to control, not control, but like how to live with the fear, I guess would be the right way of saying things. So how do you handle that? Is that by reframing this idea of I survived this onto the next thing? Is there anything else that you do to cope with that fear? And more specifically, do you have fear around singing as well? And how do you cope with those?
Well, to me, it helps to go step by step and really outline the steps that I need to accomplish something that is scary. So if I am afraid of going on an audition, for example, going on an audition is a big thing, and so that's scary. And what I try to do is just dissect that into tiny steps. And so I'm not going on audition. I'm sending an email applying for an audition. Okay, after that, they may send me an email with the material that I need to study. So afterwards, I'm going to study the material. And after I study the material, I'm going to get ready to go to the audition. And then so that helps me, because I'm such a planner and such a how person. I'm like, how are we going to do this? And sometimes I kind of get stuck on that, how am I going to do this? Yeah, and that kind of keeps me from going forward. So the steps really help me. And, just talking to people helps a lot too. When I'm afraid of something, I tell someone, I'm afraid of this. And they'll be like, oh, Sofia, you'd be great at this. Or I'll go with you. Or I don't know, they just say something that it makes it so much more manageable, because if it stays in my head, then it's this big monster. But when I say it out loud and someone receives it and they're like, yeah, that's okay, that's simple, you just have to do this, or, and that to me is like, oh, okay, so this is manageable, this is not a big monster. So I think those things help me to face the fear, is to have accountability, not like tell someone, and then just being very specific about what I need to do to get there.
Yeah. That reminds me of Brene Brown's idea, but she talks about that in the context of shame, of when you're actually speaking it out. Instead of, many of us think if we talk about things, it's only going to get worse. But her research shows that by talking it through with someone or shining a light on this, it actually diminishes in power and it has less power over you. So that's beautiful. And I want to zoom in to what you said so that our listener truly get this, because you have shared some amazing strategies to overcome fear. This is gold, and I hope they realize that. Many people, when they're going after a goal, they are already at the end point. And what I'm hearing in your story is that you're doing the step by step. So you're not even worrying about, oh, what will I have to sing at my audition? No, the first thing is to send out the application. So let's do that first. So it seems like you're focusing on that one step, the next step. And once that is over, then we go to the next one, instead of jumping 10 steps ahead, because that is oftentimes what scares people off, because that seems like this huge thing that we cannot achieve, while it's a huge thing that is just made up of different steps. So that's really valuable. Thanks for sharing that. You mentioned the Singing Insiders earlier. Just to clarify for the people listening that might not know, this is our community for singers. And I'd love to hear, because we've been working together for about a year, two years? I'm not sure.
9 months?
9 months! Okay, my God, it seems so much longer. Tell me, in those 9 months, like, what's become possible for you? Because we've looked at the situation of where you were. Where are you now? Like, what's the transformation been?
Where to begin? I mean, it's been amazing. I was, before joining Singing Insiders, I was in a really bad place. I had been in a really bad place for a few months before joining, because I was at a point in, my daughter was 2, had just turned 2. And for the last few months, I have been feeling like overwhelmed and drained. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I was constantly with her and always being mom. And so, yeah, I was feeling really drained, really lonely, lacking confidence, very anxious. And I wasn't in a good place. I was, I had started therapy at that point before joining. And my therapist told me that I was in a pre-depression, like on the verge of a depression, then that I needed to do something for myself. And I was like, I don't want to do something for myself. It takes too much work.
Yeah, I know.
But then I saw you advertising your 5-day challenge, a free 5-day challenge on Instagram, to become a confident singer. And I'm like, yep, I kind of need to become a confident singer, because my confidence is way low. So I'll take it. And I remember doing the challenge, and like every day was just 5 days, but those 5 days were really amazing, because I remember waking up excited for the day, and we only had like one session a day, 1 hour a day, but that was enough to just fire me up and make me excited and bring back the joy of living. And I hadn't felt like that in a long time. And so, yeah, I remember looking at those 5 days and being like, wow, this was really cool. I want more of this. And so I joined the Singing Insiders, and then the whole transformation began. I remember when I joined, we had a master class on mindset or something really regarding the mindset. And like the doors were open for me. We talked about limiting beliefs. We talked about fear. We talked about, all those things. And it was so mind-blowing. I remember, just sitting with all that information, being like, okay, wow, this is a lot.
It was.
Am I going to be able to put... It was a lot. Am I going to be able to put this all into practice? But, slowly, just I tried not to demand too much of myself, but like slowly, I just kept going, kept doing the work. And I look back and it's amazing how much my life has changed in such a short amount of time. Now I like my voice, which is amazing. I've been singing for, I don't know, 15 years, maybe, well, all my life, but, professionally for like 7 years or something. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time that I'm like, yeah, I like my voice. I don't have to sound like XYZ. I sing well. I like to sing, and I think I do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Which is in itself is amazing. I'm much more consistent with my practice. Because then I wasn't being as consistent, because deep down I was like, I'm never going to become better. So, I don't see any results. So I'm going to stop. And then every time an audition came, I was like, oh my God, now I have to learn everything in a week.
Yeah.
And it was just so draining and so exhausting. And now I'm like, okay, if an audition comes, it's okay. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I've been doing the work. I started taking piano lessons recently because of the Singing Insiders, because of, just wanting to grow and just expand the possibilities of what I want to do with my life and with my musicianship. And that's, that to me, the thought that I am learning piano is so wild, because I've always known people who play the piano. We had a keyboard in my house growing up, but I've never even given myself permission to, consider maybe I should, learn to play the piano. I mean, so now at 35, being able to learn something new and something so fulfilling and incredible to me is a dream. I mean, and so, yeah, I think what really has changed is this openness of my mind, of being able to access my mind and my heart and go like, what do I want? Where do I want to go? How do I want to do it? And just, one step at a time, go at it. And that's pretty amazing.
My God, yeah. And it's interesting because what I'm not necessarily hearing in your story is, oh, I worked on my breath support, I worked on my twang. You did those things, but the thing that put that into action was the whole mindset piece. And many singers, when they start out, the only thing that they're looking for on YouTube or Google is how to improve my breath support so that they can sing all those things that they want to sing. And the key for you has been the other way around, to first do the inner work, which then caused all the other techniques to come way more easy. So powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I joined, focusing on the vocal technique side of it.
Yeah.
I want to sing better so that I can become confident.
Yeah.
But then I realized, no, I have to become confident first so that I can unlock all that my voice can do.
Thank you.
And it's
Thank you. I've been trying to say that for years.
And it's so interesting because in one of your master classes, I think it was also about mindset, you had an exercise about, okay, think about something that, think about a limiting belief that you have. And we dissect that during the master class. And I realized that a limiting belief that I have was that singing loudly was bad.
Ooh.
And so I've been trying to learn how to belt with that limiting belief in my mind. So
That does
every
not
time
make
a big sound came out of my mouth, I would like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So how would I be able to learn how to belt with that limiting belief in my mind? It's amazing. I mean, it's powerful.
I am so grateful that you are sharing this exact example because we all have those things holding us back. Anytime we feel like we're limited in any way, yes, we can look at the technique. Oftentimes there's something behind that. And once we can let go of that, that will help us to implement the technique in the right way. That's so tell me about because you talked about your daughter, 3 years old now. I I relate to you very much because I have a 5 month old now at home. And I never understood what it was to have kids until I got my own. So,
Yep,
did you notice
that's how
any?
it works.
Yeah, yeah. Did you notice any like ripple effect towards her and the people around you? Because obviously we've talked about you, but now that you are in this more powerful place, how does that impact your environment?
That's a very good question. I don't know if this answers exactly to your question yet, but because um, because I started learning all the things that light up my heart while I was an adult. I went to musical theater when I was 25. I started learning the violin when I was 21. I became an actress when I was professionally when I was 27, I think. I'm learning the piano now at 35. So because I'm doing all those things now as an adult that I wasn't given access to as a child, I am more mindful of that, of what lights my daughter's heart now, and I'm more mindful of giving space to that. The other day, she told me we were coming home at night, and she was looking at the moon, and she said, "Is the moon in space?" And I'm like, "Yes, the moon is in space." "Oh, I want to go to space one day." And I was
Oh,
like, "That would be awesome. You can totally go to space one day." Yeah, absolutely. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Instead of going, "Oh, honey, you can't go to space.
yeah,
Only astronauts go to space,"
yeah,
you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. I love that.
And so that I think has been a good side effect of it. And I think to answer to your question more specifically, I see in her so many, you know, she's such an artistic child. She dances with her eyes closed,
Oh.
and she goes like, I'm doing a show, okay, watch my show." And then she bows in the end. And it's funny because when I started doing the vocal workouts and the warm-ups more consistently, in the beginning she would be like, "Oh no, mom, you stop that sound, oh, don't do that." And now I go and I sit to do my like my straw
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
warm up, and she wants to pick up a straw as well, and she sits next to me. My husband filmed a video the other day because we were both doing a warm up together, and that
Oh, I
was
love it.
amazing. And I looked at her and I was like, "Oh, this is so precious."
And she already learned that warming up your voice is so important.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
and I love that. I love that, or we brought the piano into our house, and now she goes and she plays the piano, and I love that this is her reality as well. That music and singing and
Yeah.
science, everything has value and coexists, and I love that for her.
Well, I think this is a beautiful place to end this conversation, unless you have anything else to add to anything that we covered so far.
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. That was pretty,
We
yeah.
did. We went
That was
really
deep.
deep.
Yeah, that
Sophia,
was good.
thank you so much. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you not only crafting out and taking the time to have this conversation, but to be so honest and pure about everything that we discussed. So thank you so much for
Oh,
having been here. And
thank you. Thank you for having me
yeah.
and for everything that you do, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, for your vision, and for your kindness. Because the Singing Insiders community is something that I've never seen anywhere else. And it's pretty amazing, pretty transformational. So thank you.
I appreciate that you're saying that, Sophia, and know that you've done the work. So it's all you. You've done it. You've gone through all the things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie.